Ma'am, what happened? Are you hurt?
No, not hurt.
Then tell me what's wrong.
He took everything except the one thing I still need you for. You came.
Of course I came. You sounded terrified.
Everyone I trusted is gone.
You're not alone.
Then stay, because you're the only person I can still trust.
Come on, stand up. Tell me who did this.
If I say it out loud, everything changes.
Then say it.
The company was supposed to become yours, not theirs.
At 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night, Billionaire CEO Elena Vaughn disappeared from her penthouse, and the only person who found her was a man who couldn't even afford to fix his truck's broken heater. Daniel Reed had nothing. No money, no status, no answers. Just a beat-up Ford and 2 minimum-wage jobs that barely kept the lights on for him and his 7-year-old daughter. But when he discovered his untouchable boss sitting barefoot on concrete steps, mascara streaked down her face, abandoned by the husband who'd walked out that morning, Daniel did something no one expected. He stayed. And in that one reckless decision, 2 broken lives collided in ways neither of them could survive alone. This is their story. Stay until the end, hit that like button, and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The call came at 11:34 p.m., right when Daniel Reed was elbow deep in dish soap and last night's crusted over mac and cheese pan. Daniel? It's Marcus from security. Daniel wedged the phone between his shoulder and ear, scrubbing harder at the pan. Yeah, what's up? Look, I know it's late, but... Marcus hesitated. Static crackled on the line. Ms. Vaughn isn't answering her phone. Board's been trying to reach her for 3 hours. They're freaking out about tomorrow's investor meeting. Daniel stopped scrubbing. Elena Vaughn, CEO. The woman whose signature could move millions, whose calendar was managed down to the minute, who once fired a VP for being 12 seconds late to a quarterly review. So call her assistant, Daniel said. We did. She quit this afternoon, just walked out. Then We called everyone, man. Look, I know you do maintenance for her properties, right? Including the penthouse? Daniel set the pan down slowly. Sometimes. I'm texting you the address. Just go check. Make sure she's okay. Please. The line went dead. Daniel stood in his cramped kitchen, water dripping from his hands onto linoleum that was probably older than he was. Through the thin wall, he could hear his daughter Lily's stuffed rabbit hitting the floor for the 3rd time. She'd be awake in 10 minutes asking for water. He looked at his phone. The address glowed on the screen. He should say no. It was nearly midnight. He had to be up at 5 for his shift at the warehouse. Lily had school, but Marcus wouldn't have called unless something was genuinely wrong. Daniel dried his hands, grabbed his keys, and checked on Lily one more time. She was sprawled across her twin bed, one leg hanging off the side, her mouth slightly open. He pulled the blanket over her, texted his neighbor Teresa, the saint who'd probably saved his life a dozen times over the past 3 years. Emergency work call. Can you listen for Lily? Shouldn't be more than an hour. The reply came in seconds. Doors unlocked. Go. The penthouse was in a building Daniel had only seen from the outside, the kind of place where the doorman wore an actual uniform with brass buttons, where the lobby had a chandelier that probably cost more than his annual income. The doorman recognized him. Barely. Maintenance? Yeah. Here to check on Ms. Vaughn. The man's expression flickered. She's not answering the intercom. I know, that's why I'm here. The doorman studied him for a long moment, then stepped aside. Penthouse. Elevator code is 7739. The elevator was the kind with mirrors on every wall. Daniel caught his reflection and immediately regretted it. Paint-stained jeans, a flannel shirt with a ripped pocket, work boots held together with duct tape, and hope. He looked exactly like what he was, a guy who fixed broken toilets and changed light bulbs for people who wouldn't know his name if their lives depended on it. The elevator opened directly into the penthouse. For a second, Daniel just stood there. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, marble floors, art that was probably worth more than his truck. Everything gleaming, pristine, untouched, and completely silent. Ms. Vaughn? Nothing. He stepped inside, his boots too loud on the marble. It's Daniel Reed from maintenance, just checking if everything's... He stopped. The living room looked like a tornado had hit it. Couch cushions on the floor, a shattered vase near the window, papers everywhere, contracts maybe, or financial reports, he couldn't tell. A laptop open on the coffee table, screen dark. And on the couch, a man's watch. Wedding ring, car keys. But no Elena Vaughn. Daniel's chest tightened. He moved through the penthouse quickly now, checking rooms. Master bedroom, empty. Guest rooms, untouched. Kitchen, a wine bottle on the counter, cork beside it, glass half full. Ms. Vaughn, if you're here, I need you to say something. Still nothing. He pulled out his phone, about to call Marcus back, when he noticed it. The balcony door was open, just slightly. Enough for the night air to slip through. Daniel's stomach dropped. He crossed the living room in 4 strides and stepped outside. The balcony wrapped around 2 sides of the penthouse, 32 floors above the city. The wind hit him immediately, cold and sharp. And there, at the far corner, sitting on the concrete steps leading down to a lower terrace, was Elena Vaughn, barefoot. Still in what looked like a business dress, but wrinkled now, the hem dirty. Her dark hair loose around her shoulders instead of the tight bun he'd always seen. No jewelry except a necklace she was gripping in one hand. She wasn't crying, she was just sitting there, staring at nothing. Daniel approached slowly. Ms. Vaughn? She didn't move. It's Daniel Reed. I do maintenance for your properties. Security asked me to check on you. Still nothing. He stopped a few feet away. Up close he could see her mascara had run and dried on her cheeks. Her hands were shaking slightly. The necklace she was holding had a wedding ring threaded through it. I'm going to sit down, Daniel said quietly. Okay? She didn't respond, but she didn't tell him to leave either. He sat on the step below her, not beside her. Gave her space. The concrete was freezing through his jeans. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Elena's voice came out rough, like she hadn't used it in hours. He left. Daniel waited. This morning, She stopped, swallowed. 7 years. We've been married 7 years, and this morning he packed a bag and said he couldn't do this anymore. I'm sorry. He said I chose my company over him, that I'm married to my work, not to him. Her laugh was bitter, broken. And he's right. I am. I did. I chose every late night, every missed dinner, every canceled vacation. I chose all of it. Daniel didn't know what to say to that, so he said nothing. Elena finally looked at him. Her eyes were red, exhausted. You probably think I'm pathetic. No. I'm sitting on my balcony at midnight crying over a man who walked out. I run a billion-dollar company. I've closed deals with people who'd sell their own mothers for profit, and I can't even keep my own husband from leaving. Daniel met her gaze. You're not pathetic. You're human. She stared at him like he'd spoken a foreign language. When's the last time you ate? He asked. Elena blinked. What? Food. When did you last eat something? I don't... She frowned. Yesterday? Lunch. Maybe. Daniel stood up. Come on. What? You're getting off this balcony and you're eating something. I don't need... Ms. Vaughn. Daniel's voice was firm but not unkind. You're sitting barefoot on concrete in 40-degree weather and you haven't eaten in over 24 hours. I'm not leaving you here. So either you come inside or I'm calling 911 and letting them make you come inside. For a second, he thought she might argue. Then she stood up. Her legs wobbled slightly, and Daniel reached out instinctively to steady her. She pulled away, not harshly, just automatically, and walked past him toward the penthouse. Inside, Daniel guided her to the kitchen. Sit. She sat on one of the bar stools, moving like someone in a dream. Daniel opened the fridge, sparkling water, white wine, organic vegetables that looked untouched, Greek yogurt, not much else. You don't cook, he said. I hire people for that. He checked the freezer. Frozen meals. Expensive ones, but frozen nonetheless. He grabbed one at random, some kind of pasta thing, and stuck it in the microwave. While it heated, he poured her a glass of water. Drink. Elena took it automatically, then just held it. The microwave beeped. Daniel grabbed a fork from a drawer that probably cost more than his monthly rent and set the steaming container in front of her. Eat. I'm not hungry. Doesn't matter. Eat anyway. She picked up the fork like it weighed 10 pounds, took a small bite, then another. Then she was eating mechanically, not tasting it, just putting food in her mouth because her body needed it. Daniel leaned against the counter, giving her space. When she was halfway through, Elena set down the fork. Why are you doing this? Doing what? Staying, helping. You could have just called security and left. Daniel shrugged. Didn't feel right. You don't even know me. I know you're having the worst day of your life. That's enough. Elena stared at him for a long moment. I pay you $9 an hour to change light bulbs. $9.50, actually. Got a raise last month. She almost smiled. Almost. I'm serious, she said. You have no reason to care about this. About me. Maybe not, but I'm here anyway. Elena looked down at her half-eaten food. My assistant quit today. Did security tell you that? Yeah. She was with me for 6 years. 6 years. And she quit over email. Said she couldn't watch me destroy myself anymore. Elena's voice cracked slightly. Everyone's leaving. Everyone. Not everyone. You're only here because Marcus called you. And I stayed because I wanted to. Elena met his eyes. There was something raw there. Something vulnerable that Daniel recognized because he'd seen it in his own mirror plenty of times. What's your name? She asked quietly. Daniel? Daniel Reed. Elena Vaughn, but I guess you knew that. Yeah. She picked up her fork again, ate another bite. This is awful. Frozen food usually is. I pay someone $800 a week to meal prep for me. This is what I'm eating instead. Where's all that food? I told her not to come anymore. Last week, Elena stopped. I fired her because she asked if I was okay. Can you believe that? She asked if I was okay, and I fired her. Daniel didn't respond to that. What could he say? Elena pushed the container away. I can't be here. In this apartment, I can't. Her breathing hitched. Everything reminds me of him. His coffee mug is still in the sink. His toothbrush is still in the bathroom. I can't breathe in here. Then leave. What? Leave. Get out of the apartment. And go where? Anywhere. Hotel. Friend's place. Literally anywhere that isn't here. Elena laughed, but there was no humor in it. I don't have friends. I have business associates. I have board members. I have people I pay to make my life run smoothly. But friends? She shook her head. I traded those for stock options years ago. Daniel grabbed his keys from the counter. Come with me. What? You can't stay here. You said it yourself, so come with me. To where? I don't know yet, but anywhere's better than here. Elena stared at him like he'd lost his mind. You're a stranger. Yeah. I don't even know you. I know. This is insane. Probably. She stood up slowly. If you're some kind of serial killer, I'm a single dad who fixes toilets for a living. I promise I'm too tired to murder anyone. Elena almost laughed. Then she looked around her pristine, empty penthouse, at the scattered papers, the abandoned wedding ring on the couch, the silence that felt like it could swallow her whole. Okay, she said quietly. Yeah? Yeah, let's go. Daniel's truck was parked 3 blocks away because he couldn't afford the building's garage rates. Elena walked beside him in bare feet, still carrying the necklace with the ring. Daniel had grabbed a coat from her closet, some designer thing that probably cost 4 figures, and wrapped it around her shoulders. She looked completely out of place. A woman in a $1,000 dress, walking through downtown at midnight with no shoes. People stared. Elena didn't seem to notice. When they reached the truck, she stopped. This is your vehicle? Yeah. It was a 2004 Ford F-150 with rust spots, a dent in the passenger door, and a crack across the windshield Daniel had been meaning to fix for 8 months. The heater's broken, Daniel said, unlocking it, so it's going to be cold. Elena climbed in without a word. Daniel got in the driver's side, started the engine, it coughed twice before catching, and pulled into traffic. For the first 10 minutes, they drove in silence. Then Elena spoke. Where are we going? There's a diner about 20 minutes from here. Open 24 hours. Food's decent. I just ate. Then you can drink terrible coffee and keep me company while I eat. She looked at him. Why are you doing this? I told you. No, really. Why? Daniel kept his eyes on the road. 3 years ago, my wife left, packed up while I was at work, and took everything except Lily's stuff and a note saying she couldn't do this anymore. Couldn't handle being broke, couldn't handle being married to a guy who couldn't provide the life she wanted. Elena was quiet. I spent that whole night sitting in our apartment, her apartment technically, since her name was on the lease, trying to figure out what I did wrong, how I could have fixed it, and nobody called. Nobody checked on me. I was just alone with it. He glanced at her. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Not even my boss, who probably doesn't remember my name half the time. Daniel Reed, Elena said softly. Maintenance supervisor. Started 18 months ago. Consistently receives high marks from tenants. Has a daughter named Lily who's 7 years old. You requested 3 days off in December for her birthday. Daniel stared at her. I know everyone who works for my properties, Elena said. All 234 of them. I don't know them well, but I know them. Oh. And for the record, I would have remembered your name even if I didn't make it a point to know. You're the one who fixed Mrs. Chen's sink at 2 in the morning last month because she was having a panic attack about the water damage. She was 83 and terrified. Of course I went. Most people wouldn't have. Most people are assholes. Elena smiled. Actually smiled. It was small and didn't last long, but it was real. They drove the rest of the way in silence, but it was different now. Less heavy. Chit. The diner was exactly what Daniel had promised. Worn boots, fluorescent lights, a waitress who looked like she'd been working there since the Reagan administration. Elena slid into a booth near the back. She still had no shoes, still had mascara streaks on her face, still looked like she'd been through a war. The waitress, her name tag said Barb, didn't even blink. Coffee? Please, Elena said. Make it 2, Daniel added, and I'll take the breakfast special. Barb scribbled it down and walked away. Elena wrapped her hands around the coffee mug when it arrived, like she was trying to absorb its warmth. This place is a dump? I was going to say real. Daniel poured creamer into his coffee. You don't get out much, do you? Not to places like this. Where do you usually eat? Restaurants with names I can't pronounce. Places where the portions are 3 ounces and cost $60. Sounds miserable. It is. Elena took a sip of coffee and winced. This is terrible. Yeah. Why are we here? Because you needed to get out of that apartment, and this was the first place I thought of. Elena set down her mug. You could have just dropped me at a hotel. Could have. But you didn't. Nope. Why? Daniel met her eyes. Because I don't think you should be alone right now. Elena's expression cracked slightly. She looked away, blinking fast. You don't even know me, she said again. Keep saying that. Doesn't change anything. Barb returned with Daniel's food, eggs, bacon, pancakes, hash browns, toast. Enough food for 2 people. Easy. Daniel pushed the plate to the center of the table. Eat. I told you I'm not. Eat anyway. Elena stared at the food for a long moment. Then she picked up a fork and stabbed a piece of pancake. They ate in silence for a while. The diner was mostly empty except for a couple of truckers at the counter and someone asleep in a corner booth. This is surreal, Elena said finally. This morning I was preparing for the biggest investor meeting of my career. Tonight I'm eating pancakes in a diner with a man I barely know because my husband left me and I couldn't handle being in my own home. Life's weird like that. Weird, right? She ate another bite. How do you do it? Do what? Live like this, after your wife left. How did you keep going? Daniel set down his fork. Lily. I had to keep going for her. She didn't ask to be born into this mess, didn't ask for a dad who could barely pay rent. But she was there, and she needed me, so I figured it out. That's it? You just figured it out? I mean, I had some pretty dark nights, moments where I wasn't sure I could do it. But every morning, Lily would wake up and ask for breakfast, and I'd have to get up and make it. And then I'd have to get her to school, and then I'd have to go to work. And somewhere in all that, the dark moments got smaller. Elena was quiet for a long time. I don't have a Lily. No, I don't have anyone. You have yourself. And if that's not enough? Daniel didn't have an answer for that. Elena pushed the plate away and leaned back in the booth. I built an empire. Do you understand that? I started with nothing, a business degree and $70,000 in student loans, and I built a company worth billions. I worked 16-hour days. I've sacrificed everything. My health, my relationships, my sanity. All for what? She looked at him, and for the first time Daniel saw not the CEO, not the billionaire, not the untouchable boss, but a woman who was completely, utterly lost. So my husband could leave me anyway. So I could sit in an empty penthouse and realize I've spent 10 years building something that gave me everything I thought I wanted and nothing I actually needed. Daniel didn't know what to say to that. What could he say? I'm sorry, Elena whispered. I shouldn't be dumping this on you. It's okay. It's not. You're trying to help, and I'm... Elena. Daniel's voice was gentle. It's okay. Really. She met his eyes, and something in her expression shifted, like she was seeing him, really seeing him for the first time. Thank you, she said quietly, for staying, for this, for not treating me like I'm some fragile thing that needs to be handled carefully. You're not fragile. You're breaking. There's a difference. Is there? Yeah. Fragile things shatter when you drop them. Breaking things can be put back together. Elena stared at him. Who are you? Just a guy who's been where you are. And did you put yourself back together? Daniel thought about that. About the past 3 years, the struggles, the nights when he wasn't sure he'd make rent, the moments with Lily that made it all worth it. I'm working on it, he said finally. Every day. Elena nodded slowly. Then she looked around the diner, at the cracked vinyl booths, the flickering fluorescent light, the laminated menus with coffee stains. I like it here, she said. Yeah? Yeah, nobody knows who I am. Nobody's judging me. I'm just a person. Eating mediocre pancakes with a stranger who was kind enough to make sure I didn't spend the night alone. The pancakes aren't that mediocre. She almost smiled again. They sat there until nearly 3 a.m, talking about everything and nothing. Elena told him about growing up poor, about clawing her way up through business school, about the first company she started that failed spectacularly. Daniel told her about Lily, about the jobs he juggled, about the time he lived in his truck for 2 weeks because he couldn't make rent. And slowly, piece by piece, Elena Vaughn stopped being his untouchable boss and became just Elena, a person, flawed, hurting, real. When Barb finally came by to refill their coffee for the 5th time, she looked at Elena's bare feet and said, Hun, you need shoes or something? Elena looked down like she'd forgotten. Yeah, probably. Barb disappeared into the back and returned with a pair of off-brand sneakers. My daughter left these here last month. They're a size 8, might fit. Elena stared at the shoes like they were the most precious thing she'd ever seen. Thank you. No problem, hun. After Barb walked away, Elena slipped on the shoes. They were too big, but she tied them tight. Better? Daniel asked. Better. Outside, the sky was starting to lighten. Not sunrise yet, but that pre-dawn glow that meant the night was ending. Elena stood on the sidewalk, looking up at it. I don't want to go back. To the penthouse? To any of it. My life. My company. I don't want to wake up tomorrow and pretend everything's fine. I don't want to sit through that investor meeting and sell them on growth projections when I can barely hold myself together. Daniel stood beside her. So don't. What? Don't go back. Not yet. Not until you're ready. I can't just... I have responsibilities. And you have a breaking point. Sounds like you hit it. Elena turned to face him. Where would I even go? Daniel hadn't really thought about it until that moment. But standing there looking at this woman who'd lost everything in one day, who looked more fragile than anyone he'd ever seen and yet somehow stronger than she knew. I know a place, he said. It's not fancy, it's probably not even clean, but it's quiet, and nobody will find you there. Where? Motel about 40 minutes from here. My buddy owns it, owes me a favor. I can get you a room and you can just breathe for a day or two. Figure out what you want to do next. Elena studied his face for a long moment. Why are you helping me? Because someone should. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got. She looked back up at the sky. The stars were fading now, swallowed by the approaching dawn. Okay, she said finally. Yeah? Yeah, let's go. The motel was exactly what Daniel had described. Not fancy, probably not clean, but quiet. His buddy Rick was working the night shift. He took one look at Elena, still in her wrinkled dress and borrowed sneakers, and didn't ask questions. Just handed Daniel a key. Room 12, far end. Nobody's going to bother you there. Daniel led Elena to the room. It was small. 2 double beds, a TV that probably hadn't worked since 2010, carpet that was definitely older than Lily. But it was warm and private, and 1,000 miles away from the penthouse and the life Elena was trying to escape. It's perfect, Elena said quietly. Daniel set the key on the dresser. I should go. Let you get some sleep. Wait! He turned. Elena was standing in the middle of the room, looking smaller somehow than she had all night. I don't know how to do this, be alone with myself, that I've spent so long avoiding it, filling every moment with work, with noise, with anything but silence. And now, her voice broke. Now I'm terrified of what I'll find if I stop running. Daniel crossed the room slowly. He didn't touch her, didn't crowd her, just stood close enough that she knew she wasn't alone. You don't have to figure it all out tonight, he said gently. You just have to survive tonight. And then tomorrow, you survive tomorrow. That's it. One day at a time. Elena looked up at him, tears streaming down her face now. I don't know if I can. You can. You're stronger than you think. You don't know that. Yeah, I do. Because you're still here. You didn't give up. You're scared and hurting and completely lost, but you're still here. That takes strength. Elena crumpled. Not dramatically, not violently. She just folded into herself and Daniel caught her. He held her while she cried. Didn't say anything, didn't try to fix it. Just held her and let her break. And after a long time, maybe 10 minutes, maybe an hour, Elena pulled back. Her eyes were swollen, her face blotchy. She looked exhausted. Thank you, she whispered. Get some sleep. Will you? She stopped, started again. Will you come back tomorrow? Daniel should say no. He had work. He had Lily. He had a life that didn't include babysitting his boss through a breakdown. But when he looked at Elena standing there in borrowed shoes and yesterday's makeup, looking more human than he'd ever seen her, yeah, he said. I'll come back. Promise? Promise. Elena nodded. Then, almost as an afterthought, she said, I'm sorry for not knowing your name before tonight, for treating you like you were invisible. You deserved better than that. Water under the bridge. No, it's not, and I'm sorry. Daniel didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded. He left her there in room 12, drove home as the sun came up, and slipped into his apartment just as Lily was waking up. Daddy? She was standing in her doorway, rubbing her eyes. Where were you? Daniel scooped her up, held her tight. Work emergency, baby. I'm sorry. It's okay. She yawned against his shoulder. Can we have pancakes? Yeah, we can have pancakes. As he carried her to the kitchen, Daniel's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Thank you for tonight, for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. I don't know what happens next, but I'm glad I'm not facing it alone. E. Daniel stared at the message for a long moment. Then he set his phone down and made his daughter pancakes, wondering what the hell he'd just gotten himself into. Daniel made it through exactly 4 hours of his warehouse shift before his phone rang. He almost didn't answer. His supervisor had already given him a warning last month about personal calls, and Daniel couldn't afford to lose this job. But the number was Elena's, and something in his gut told him to pick up. Yeah? Daniel? Her voice was shaking. I can't. I need. He stepped away from the conveyor belt, ignoring the glare from his supervisor. What's wrong? The board found me. I don't know how, but they're calling every 5 minutes. My lawyer wants to meet about the divorce. My assistant's replacement keeps emailing me lists of things that need my signature, and She took a ragged breath. I can't make them stop. I turned off my phone, but they're calling the motel now. Rick just knocked on my door to tell me someone's trying to reach me about an emergency board meeting. Daniel checked his watch. 10:30. He had 6 more hours on his shift. Okay, listen to me. Don't answer anything. Don't respond to anyone. I'm coming. You don't have to. I'm coming. Give me 40 minutes. He hung up before she could argue. His supervisor intercepted him at the time clock. Reed, where do you think you're going? Family emergency. You said that last week. This is different. You walk out that door, don't bother coming back. Daniel looked at the man, at his clipboard and his company polo and his expression that said he'd made this threat 100 times before and meant it every single time. Daniel thought about his rent, about Lily's school fees, about the fact that he was already behind on his electric bill. Then he thought about Elena's voice on the phone, about the way she'd sounded like she was drowning. I understand, Daniel said, and walked out. The drive to the motel took 37 minutes. When he pulled up, he could see Elena through the window of room 12, pacing like a caged animal. He knocked. It's me. She opened the door immediately. She was still in yesterday's dress, hair unwashed, makeup smudged. She looked like she hadn't slept at all. They won't leave me alone, she said. I thought if I came here, if I disappeared for a day, I could just breathe. But they found me anyway. They always find me. Daniel stepped inside and closed the door. Give me your phone. What? Your phone. Give it to me. Elena handed it over. Daniel turned it off completely, then took out the SIM card and pocketed it. What are you doing? Making you unreachable. He grabbed the motel phone from the nightstand and unplugged it from the wall. There. Now they can't find you. They'll just show up here. No, they won't, because you're not staying here. Elena stared at him. Where am I going? Somewhere they can't follow. Daniel, do you trust me? She hesitated. They'd known each other for less than 24 hours. She had every reason to say no. Yes, she said quietly. Then pack whatever you brought and let's go. Elena grabbed the small overnight bag she must have had Rick bring her. Daniel made a mental note to thank his friend later and followed him to the truck. As they pulled out of the parking lot, she asked, Where are we going? You'll see. They drove for 20 minutes in silence. Elena kept checking the empty spot where her phone usually was, her fingers twitching like she didn't know what to do with her hands. Finally, Daniel pulled off the highway onto a dirt road that wound through a stretch of woods. The truck bumped over potholes and loose gravel until they reached a clearing with a small cabin. Elena looked at it. What is this? My uncle's hunting cabin. He died 2 years ago, left it to me in his will. I come out here sometimes when I need to think. Does it have electricity? Solar panels. No internet, though. No cell service either. Elena got out of the truck slowly, looking around. The cabin was small, weathered, surrounded by trees. The kind of place that existed completely outside the world she knew. How long were you planning on keeping me here? She asked. As long as you need. But I can't just disappear. I have responsibilities. You also have a breaking point, and from where I'm standing, you hit it yesterday. Elena turned to face him. I have an investor meeting in 3 days, a board review next week, a company that depends on me to what? Run yourself into the ground, work yourself to death? Elena, when's the last time you took a day off? She opened her mouth, closed it. That's what I thought. Daniel grabbed her bag from the truck. Come on, let me show you inside. The cabin was exactly what it looked like from the outside. One room with a kitchenette, a wood-burning stove, a couch that had seen better days, and a loft bedroom accessible by a ladder. It's not much, Daniel said. It's perfect. Elena set her bag down. But I can't let you do this. You must have work. Your daughter... I quit my job. What? The warehouse. I quit. Well, technically I got fired for walking out, but same difference. Elena's face went pale. No, Daniel, you can't. That's your income. How are you going to... I'll figure it out. I always do. This is because of me. Because I called you. This is because I made a choice, and I'd make it again. Elena sank onto the couch, putting her head in her hands. You shouldn't have done that. Probably not. Daniel knelt in front of her. But I did. So let's not waste it, okay? You're here. You're safe. Nobody can reach you. So take a breath and figure out what you actually want. I don't know what I want. Then start with what you don't want. Elena looked up at him. Her eyes were red-rimmed, exhausted. I don't want to go back. To that penthouse. To that life. I don't want to wake up in a place that reminds me of everything I lost. Okay? What else? I don't want to sit through meetings and pretend I'm fine. I don't want to make decisions that affect thousands of people when I can't even make decisions for myself. I don't want... Her voice broke. I don't want to be alone anymore. Daniel didn't move. You're not alone. You barely know me. Getting to know you, that counts. Elena laughed, but it was hollow. Why are you doing this? Really? And don't give me that line about someone needing to help. There has to be more to it than that. Daniel sat back on his heels. You want the truth? Yes? 3 years ago, when my wife left, I spent weeks trying to figure out what I did wrong, how I could have been better, worked harder, made more money, been someone worth staying for. He paused. And then one day I realized it wasn't about me. She left because she wanted a different life. That was her choice. Just like it's your husband's choice to leave you. Elena flinched. But here's the thing nobody tells you, Daniel continued. When someone leaves, they take a piece of you with them. And you spend so much time trying to get that piece back that you forget there are other pieces left. Pieces that matter. Pieces that are worth saving. He met her eyes. You're in that moment right now. The moment where you can either spend the rest of your life chasing what you lost, or you can start figuring out what you still have. And I'm helping because I remember how hard it is to do that alone. Elena was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I don't know what I still have. Then let's find out. Over the next few hours, Daniel taught Elena how to start a fire in the wood-burning stove. She burned herself twice, swore more than he'd ever heard her swear, and finally got a flame going that actually produced heat. I did it, she said, staring at the fire like it was a miracle. You did. I've never started a fire before. Most people haven't. I have 3 degrees, I've negotiated billion-dollar deals, and I've never started a fire. Daniel handed her a blanket. There's a lot you haven't done. She wrapped the blanket around herself and sat on the floor in front of the stove, watching the flames. When I was building my company, I used to tell myself that once I made it, once I had enough money, enough success, I'd take time for the things I missed, travel, hobbies, a real relationship with my husband. But there was always one more deal, one more meeting, one more goal to hit. And now? Now I have everything I thought I wanted and nothing that actually matters. Daniel sat beside her. What did you want before the company, before all of it? Elena thought about that. I wanted to teach. Teach what? Business, economics. I wanted to help people who came from nothing, like me, understand how to build something, how to escape poverty. She smiled sadly. I was going to be a professor, had acceptance letters to grad programs and everything. What happened? I got an offer from a startup. Good salary, stock options, a chance to build something from the ground up. I told myself I'd do it for a few years, save money, then go back to teaching. She shook her head. That was 12 years ago. It's not too late. I'm 39 years old. I've spent more than a decade in the corporate world. Nobody's going to hire me to teach. So don't get hired. Start your own thing. Consulting, workshops, online courses. There are 1,000 ways to teach that don't require a university position. Elena looked at him. You make it sound simple. It's not simple, but it's possible. She pulled the blanket tighter. I'm scared. Of what? Of walking away from everything I built, of starting over, of being nobody. You're not nobody. You're Elena Vaughn, and you're more than your job title. Am I? She turned to face him fully. Because I don't know who Elena Vaughn is without the company, without the success, without the identity I've spent 12 years building. Take all that away, and what's left? I guess that's what you're here to find out. Elena stared at the fire for a long time. Then she said, I'm tired, Daniel. I'm so tired of pretending I have all the answers. of being the person everyone depends on, of carrying the weight of everyone's expectations. Then put it down. I can't. If I step away from the company, thousands of people lose their jobs. Investors lose money. Everything I built falls apart. Or, Daniel said carefully, it doesn't. Maybe the company survives without you. Maybe it even thrives. But you'll never know if you don't give someone else a chance to step up. Elena shook her head. That's not how it works. How does it work? I'm the CEO, the face of the company, the person who makes the final decisions. Without me, without you, someone else makes those decisions. Elena, you're acting like you're holding up the entire sky. But the sky was there before you, and it'll be there after. The question is whether you want to spend the rest of your life holding it up, or whether you want to live. She didn't respond to that. They sat in silence, watching the fire burn down. Eventually, Daniel stood. I'm going to run into town, get some food. You should rest. Don't leave. The words came out fast, almost panicked. Daniel looked at her. I'll be gone an hour. 2 at most. What if they find me? What if someone shows up? Nobody knows you're here, and even if they did, there's no cell service to call them back. Elena wrapped her arms around herself. I know it's irrational, but the thought of being alone right now... Okay. Daniel sat back down. I won't leave. You need to get food. I've got some stuff in the truck. Trail mix and water bottles. We'll make it work. Daniel? Elena, it's fine. Really. She looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Gratitude, maybe. Or something deeper. Why are you being so kind to me? She asked quietly. Because you need someone to be. That's not a reason. It's the only one that matters. Elena pulled the blanket over her head, hiding her face. I'm going to cry again. Fair warning. Okay. I don't know why I keep crying. I hate crying. You're allowed to cry. I'm a CEO. CEOs don't cry. You're also human. Humans cry. She made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. I don't know how to be human anymore. I forgot somewhere along the way. Daniel didn't say anything, just sat with her while she cried into the blanket, while the fire crackled and the cabin settled around them. When she finally emerged, her face was blotchy and her eyes were swollen, but she looked lighter somehow. Thank you, she said. For what? For not trying to fix me. For just being here. You don't need fixing. You need time. Elena leaned her head against the wall. My lawyer called 6 times yesterday, before you took my phone. He wants to discuss settlement terms. And I don't even know what I want from the divorce. My husband can have the penthouse, the cars, the vacation house. I don't care about any of it. What do you care about? She thought about that. My grandmother's necklace, the one I was holding last night. My husband gave it back to me when he left. Said I should keep it since it was mine before we got married. That's it? That's all you want? It's the only thing that matters. Daniel studied her face. You're really going to walk away from everything. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know what I'm going to do. That's okay. You don't have to decide today. Elena pulled her knees to her chest. Tell me about your daughter, Lily. The change in subject was abrupt, but Daniel rolled with it. What do you want to know? Everything. What's she like? Daniel smiled. She's 7, obsessed with dinosaurs, has a stuffed triceratops named Ralph that she brings everywhere. She's smart, smarter than me, honestly, and she's kind, sometimes too kind. She'll give away her lunch if another kid forgot theirs. She sounds wonderful. She is. She's the best thing I've ever done. Does she know about me? About what you're doing? She knows I'm helping someone who needs it. That's enough for now. Elena was quiet. Then, you're a good father. I'm trying to be. My father left when I was 4. I barely remember him. And my mother, she did her best, but she was working 3 jobs just to keep us fed. I raised myself mostly. I'm sorry. Don't be. It made me strong, independent, but it also... She stopped. It also made me think I had to do everything alone, that needing help was weakness. It's not. I'm starting to realize that. They talked for hours, about their childhoods, their failures, their regrets. Elena told him about the first company she started that went bankrupt within 6 months, about the investor who told her she'd never make it because she was a woman, about the night she slept in her office because she couldn't afford rent and a business loan at the same time. Daniel told her about dropping out of college when Lily was born, about the jobs he'd worked, pizza delivery, janitorial services, construction, about the time he sold his guitar to pay for Lily's birthday present. As the afternoon wore into evening, Elena asked, "Do you ever regret it, giving up your life for her?" "Every day," Daniel said honestly. "And not at all. Does that make sense?" "Yeah, it does." The sun was setting when Elena finally asked the question Daniel had been waiting for. "What happens tomorrow?" "What do you want to happen?" "I don't know. That's the problem. I've spent my entire adult life knowing exactly what comes next. Every hour scheduled, every goal planned. And now I have nothing. No plan, no direction, just space. And how does that feel?" Elena thought about it. Terrifying and liberating, and I don't know which one is stronger. Maybe they're both true. She looked at him. "How do you do that?" "Do what?" "Make everything sound so simple." It's not simple, but it's not as complicated as you're making it either. You're overthinking because that's what you've been trained to do. But sometimes the answer is just to take the next step, and then the one after that. And what's the next step? Eat something, sleep, wake up tomorrow and see how you feel. Elena smiled. "That's it? That's your big plan?" "That's the plan." "You're a terrible strategist." "Good thing I'm not trying to run a company." She laughed. Actually laughed. And for a moment, she looked like someone who'd been carrying the world finally set it down. Daniel heated up some of the trail mix in a pan. It wasn't much, but it was something. They ate sitting on the floor in front of the fire, and Elena admitted it was the best meal she'd had in months. "Better than $60 portions?" Daniel asked. "Better than all of it." As night fell, Daniel insisted Elena take the loft bed. She argued, said it was his cabin, he should sleep there, but he won out eventually. He lay on the couch, listening to her move around above him. After a while, her voice drifted down. "Daniel?" "Yeah?" "Thank you for all of this. I know I keep saying it, but I mean it. I know. I'm going to figure out how to repay you. You don't owe me anything." "Yes, I do." "Elena, get some sleep." She was quiet for a moment, then, "Good night." "Good night." Daniel lay there in the dark, wondering what the hell he was doing. He'd quit his job. He was hiding his boss in a hunting cabin in the middle of nowhere. He had rent due in a week and no idea how he'd pay it. But when he thought about Elena, about the way she'd looked sitting on those penthouse steps, broken and alone, he knew he'd make the same choice again. Some things were more important than stability. He just hoped he wouldn't regret it. Daniel woke to the smell of something burning. He shot up from the couch, heart hammering, and found Elena in the kitchenette waving a dish towel at a smoking pan. "What are you doing?" "Trying to make breakfast." She coughed, still waving the towel. "I found eggs in the cooler you brought. Another cough. Thought I'd be useful." Daniel crossed the room and turned off the burner. The eggs were black, welded to the pan. "How long were you cooking these?" "I don't know. 10 minutes? 15? "Elena, eggs take like 3 minutes." "I've never cooked eggs before." Daniel stared at her. "Never?" "I told you, I hire people for that." She set down the towel, looking embarrassed. "I wanted to do something nice. You've been taking care of me for 2 days, and I can't even make breakfast without setting the cabin on fire." "You didn't set it on fire. You just murdered some eggs. There's a difference." She almost smiled. Then her phone, the one Daniel had disabled, buzzed from the counter where he'd left it. Elena froze. "I thought you took out the SIM card," she said. "I did. That's just the alarm. You must have set it before I shut everything down." The screen lit up with a reminder. Divorce meeting, 10 a.m., downtown office. Elena stared at it like it was a bomb. "That's today," she whispered. "Yeah. I'm supposed to meet with my husband and the lawyers, divide up assets, sign preliminary paperwork." She picked up the phone with shaking hands. "I completely forgot." "Do you want to go?" "I don't know." She set the phone back down. Part of me wants to face him and ask why. Why he left. Why he gave up on us. Why 7 years meant nothing. And the other part? The other part wants to stay here and pretend none of it is happening. Daniel leaned against the counter. Which part is louder? Elena was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "The part that wants answers. Then we'll go." "You don't have to come with me." "I know." "Daniel." "Elena, I'm coming." End of discussion. She looked at him, something unreadable in her expression. "Why are you doing this?" "We've been over this." "No, really. Why are you still here? You've already lost your job because of me. You have your own life to deal with. And yet you're standing in a hunting cabin offering to drive me to a divorce meeting like it's the most normal thing in the world." Daniel thought about how to answer that. The truth was complicated, messy. He barely understood it himself. 3 years ago, he said finally, when my wife left, I had to go through all the legal stuff alone. Splitting custody, dividing what little we had, signing papers that made our failure official. And I remember sitting in that lawyer's office thinking I'd give anything for someone to just sit with me, to tell me I wasn't going through it alone. He met her eyes. "I can't fix what your husband did. Can't make this hurt less. But I can sit with you, and maybe that's enough." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "I don't deserve you. You don't need to deserve kindness. You just need to accept it." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I need to shower, change. I can't show up to this looking like—" She gestured at herself. She was still wearing the same dress from 2 days ago, now wrinkled beyond recognition. "There's a shower. Water's heated by solar, so it'll be lukewarm at best. And I think there might be some of my uncle's old clothes in the closet. They'll be too big, but they'll be perfect." An hour later, Elena emerged from the cabin wearing jeans that she'd rolled up at the ankles and cinched with a belt, and a flannel shirt that hung off her shoulders. Her hair was wet, pulled back in a ponytail. No makeup, no jewelry except her grandmother's necklace. She looked nothing like the CEO who dominated boardrooms and commanded empires. She looked real. "How do I look?" she asked. "Like yourself." "I'm not sure I know who that is anymore." "Then maybe it's time to find out." The drive back to the city took just over an hour. Elena was quiet most of the way, staring out the window at the landscape passing by. Daniel didn't push her to talk. Some silences were meant to be left alone. When they hit city traffic, Elena finally spoke. "I need to ask you something." "Okay. If this goes badly, if I fall apart in there, will you get me out?" "Yeah, of course." "I mean it. I don't trust myself to walk away if I need to. So if you see me drowning, pull me out." Daniel glanced at her. "I will. I promise." She nodded, then went back to staring out the window. The law office was downtown, in one of those buildings that screamed money and power. Daniel parked in a garage 2 blocks away because he couldn't afford the rates closer. As they walked toward the building, Elena's breathing got faster. "Hey." Daniel stopped, turned to face her. "Look at me." She did. Her eyes were wide, panicked. "You don't have to do this," he said. "We can turn around right now, go back to the cabin. Deal with this another day." "No, I need to do this. I need—" She took a shaky breath. "I need to see him, hear what he has to say, even if it destroys me." "It won't destroy you." "How do you know?" "Because you're still standing. After everything that's happened, you're still here. That means you're stronger than whatever he's about to throw at you." Elena closed her eyes. "I wish I believed that." "Then believe in me believing it." She opened her eyes, met his gaze. "Okay. Okay? Okay." They walked the rest of the way in silence. The law office was on the 14th floor, pristine, cold, everything polished to within an inch of its life. The receptionist looked up as they entered. "Can I help you?" "Elena Vaughn. I have a 10 o'clock with Richard Chen." The receptionist's eyes widened slightly. "Of course, Ms. Vaughn. Mr. Chen is expecting you in conference room B. Down the hall, 3rd door on the left." Elena didn't move. Daniel touched her elbow gently. "You want me to come in with you?" "You can't. It's a legal meeting. Only parties and attorneys." "Then I'll wait right here." "Daniel." I'm not leaving. I'll be here when you come out. Elena looked at him for a long moment. Then she straightened her shoulders, lifted her chin, and walked down the hall. Daniel sat in the waiting area and tried not to think about what was happening behind that closed door. 15 minutes passed, then 30. At 45 minutes, Daniel heard raised voices, muffled but distinct. At 60 minutes, the conference room door opened. A man stormed out, tall, well-dressed, the kind of guy who probably played golf with senators. He didn't even glance at Daniel, just headed straight for the elevator. Elena's husband. Had to be. Daniel stood up. A moment later, Elena emerged. She was pale, shaking, her hands clenched into fists. She saw Daniel and her face crumpled. He crossed to her in 3 strides. Come on, let's get out of here. I can't. I need to. She was hyperventilating now. He said, Daniel, he said, outside. We'll talk outside. He guided her to the elevator, past the receptionist who was pretending not to stare. Got her into the elevator just as her legs gave out. Daniel caught her, held her up as the doors closed. Breathe, he said quietly. Just breathe. I can't. Yes, you can. In through your nose, out through your mouth, with me. He breathed with her, slow and steady, until they reached the ground floor. Outside, Elena collapsed onto a bench and buried her face in her hands. Daniel sat beside her, close enough that she knew he was there but not touching her, giving her space to break. When she finally spoke, her voice was raw. He blamed me for everything. Said I destroyed our marriage with my ambition, that I chose money over love, over him. Daniel waited. And the worst part is that he's right. I did choose work. Every single time. Every anniversary I missed, every vacation I canceled, every moment I should have been present and wasn't. I chose the company over him. That doesn't make it okay for him to leave the way he did. Doesn't it? Elena looked at him, tears streaming down her face. Maybe I deserved this. Maybe this is what happens when you care more about success than people. Elena, no. Listen to me. He told me in there that he tried. For years, he tried to get my attention, tried to make me see what I was losing, and I didn't listen. I just kept working, kept climbing, kept telling myself it would all be worth it eventually. And what did you say to him? Elena laughed bitterly. Nothing. I sat there and listened to him list every way I failed as a wife, and I had no defense because it was all true. Daniel was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Did he tell you about his failures? What? Marriage is 2 people. Did he tell you all the ways he failed you? Elena shook her head. It wasn't like that. He tried. I'm the one who... He left without a real conversation, without trying counseling or giving you a chance to change. He packed a bag and walked out while you were sleeping. That's not trying, Elena. That's giving up. I gave him no choice. There's always a choice, and he chose the easy way out. Elena wiped her eyes roughly. Why are you defending me? Because someone should. Even when I'm wrong? You made mistakes. That doesn't mean you deserve to be abandoned. She stared at him. How do you do that? Do what? See the good in people, even when they can't see it in themselves. I don't know. Maybe because I needed someone to do it for me once, and nobody did. Elena's expression softened. I'm sorry. For what your wife did. For leaving you alone. Water under the bridge. Is it? Daniel thought about that. I don't know. Some days yes, some days no. But I'm working on it. They sat there on the bench as the city moved around them. People rushing to meetings, to lunch, to wherever their lives were taking them. Finally, Elena said, I signed the papers. What papers? The preliminary divorce agreement. He can have everything. The penthouse, the cars, the vacation house, all of it. I don't want any of it. What do you want? I don't know. She looked down at her hands. But I know I don't want to go back to that life. The meetings, the pressure, the constant performance. I can't do it anymore. So don't. It's not that simple. Why not? Because I have a company to run, employees depending on me, investors who... Elena, stop. Daniel turned to face her fully. Stop hiding behind your responsibilities. I'm asking you what you want, not what you think you should want, not what's expected of you. What do you actually want? Elena was quiet for so long Daniel thought she might not answer. Then she said, I want to teach, like I planned to before everything got away from me. I want to help people who are where I was, broke, ambitious, desperate to make something of themselves. I want to share what I've learned without the pressure of building empires. Then do it. I can't just walk away from $1 billion company. Why not? You're the CEO. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't work like that. Then make it work like that. Elena shook her head. You don't understand. If I step down, the stock price will tank. People will lose jobs. Everything I built will keep going without you. Elena, companies survive leadership changes all the time. The world doesn't end because you decide to live your life. But what if it does? What if I leave and everything falls apart? Then it falls apart. And you'll survive anyway, because you've survived everything else. Elena looked at him like he was speaking another language. You really believe it's that simple? I believe you're making it more complicated than it needs to be. You're unhappy. Your marriage is over. You hate your life. So change it. Just like that? Just like that. Elena stood up, pacing now. You don't get it. You can't possibly understand what it's like to have this much riding on your decisions, the weight of it, the responsibility. You're right, I don't understand, because I've never had billions of dollars or thousands of employees. But I do understand what it's like to stay in something that's killing you because you're afraid of what happens if you leave. That stopped her. I stayed with my wife for 6 months after I knew it was over, Daniel continued. 6 months of fights and silence and sleeping in separate rooms because I was terrified of being a single parent, of not being enough for Lily. And you know what happened when she finally left? What? I survived. It was hard and messy, and there were days I didn't think I'd make it. But I did. And I'm better now than I was then, because I'm not living a lie anymore. Elena sank back onto the bench. I'm scared. I know. What if I walk away from everything and realize I made a mistake? Then you'll make a different choice, but at least it'll be your choice. She leaned her head back, staring at the sky. I have another meeting at 2 with the board. They want to discuss the investor presentation for tomorrow. Are you going to go? I don't know. Part of me thinks I should, that I owe them that much. And the other part? The other part wants to tell them I'm done, that I can't carry this anymore. She looked at him. What do you think I should do? I think you already know what you want to do. You're just scared to do it. Elena closed her eyes. If I don't go to that meeting, if I just walk away, they'll replace me. Vote me out. Take everything I built and erase my name from it. Would that be so bad? She opened her eyes. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I need to think. Daniel checked his watch. You've got 4 hours. You want to grab lunch somewhere? Clear your head? Where? I know a place. Elena looked down at her borrowed clothes. I can't go to a restaurant looking like this. Who said anything about a restaurant? 30 minutes later, they were standing in front of a bowling alley. Elena stared at the neon sign. You're joking. Nope. They've got food, beer, terrible music. It's perfect. I've never been bowling. I know. Daniel? Elena, when's the last time you did something just because it sounded fun? She thought about it. I honestly can't remember. Then let's fix that. Inside the bowling alley was exactly what it looked like from the outside. Loud, chaotic, filled with the sound of crashing pins and terrible pop music. Daniel paid for a lane and 2 pairs of rental shoes. Elena held up the shoes like they might bite her. These are hideous, I know. Put them on anyway. She did, making a face the entire time. Daniel showed her how to hold the ball, how to line up her shot. She looked ridiculous, still wearing his uncle's oversized flannel, rental shoes 2 sizes too big, hair falling out of its ponytail. She looked happy. Her first ball went straight into the gutter. This is impossible, she said. Try again. The second ball hit 1 pin. I got one. You did. Did you see that? I actually hit something. Daniel couldn't help but smile. Yeah, I saw. By her 5th frame, Elena was getting the hang of it. Not good exactly, but better. And she was laughing, really laughing, every time she knocked down pins. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever done, she said, returning from another gutter ball. Good ridiculous or bad ridiculous? I don't know yet. They played 2 games. Elena lost both by embarrassing margins and didn't care at all. When they finally sat down to eat, greasy burgers and fries that were definitely not on any CEO's approved meal plan, Elena said, "Thank you." For what? For this. For reminding me what it feels like to just be. You're welcome. She picked at her fries. I'm not going to the board meeting. Daniel set down his burger. No? No. I'm going to call my assistant, my new assistant, whoever they hired to replace the one who quit, and tell them to cancel it. Tell them I need time. And if they don't like it, they can replace me. You sure? No. But I'm doing it anyway. She pulled out her phone, the one Daniel had disabled. Can I have the SIM card back? He handed it over. Elena put it in, waited for the phone to boot up. It immediately started buzzing with notifications. Missed calls, emails, voicemails. She ignored all of them and dialed a number. This is Elena Vaughn. I need you to cancel my 2 o'clock with the board. No, I'm not rescheduling because I'm taking time off. I don't know how long. Well, they'll have to manage without me. If they want to vote me out, that's their choice. Yes, I understand the implications. No, I'm not having a breakdown. Actually, maybe I am, but that's not your problem. Just cancel the meeting. She hung up. There, she said. Done. Daniel waited for her to panic, to second-guess herself. Instead, she laughed. Oh my God, I just canceled on the board of directors. You did? They're going to lose their minds. Probably. I don't care. She looked at him, eyes bright. Daniel, I don't care. For the first time in 12 years, I don't care what they think. How does that feel? Terrifying, amazing, I can't tell. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it. It's my lawyer. Probably wants to yell at me for walking out of the meeting earlier. You going to answer? No. She turned off the phone completely. I'm done for today. Done with lawyers and board members and everyone who wants a piece of me. What do you want to do instead? Elena looked around the bowling alley. At the families in neighboring lanes, the birthday party in the corner, the teenagers trying to impress each other with terrible bowling technique. Can we stay here? She asked. Just for a little while longer? Yeah, we can stay. They ordered another round of fries and played another game. Elena's score didn't improve, but she stopped caring about that too. At one point, after a particularly bad gutter ball, she turned to Daniel and said, I think I'm going to step down. From the company. For real. Yeah? Yeah. Not today. Not tomorrow. But soon. I'm going to find someone to replace me. Someone good, who actually wants the job. And I'm going to walk away. And then what? I don't know. Figure out who I am without the title. Without the money. Without any of it. She met his eyes. Is that crazy? Maybe. But it might also be the sanest thing you've ever done. Elena smiled. I'm going to teach, like I always wanted to. Start small, maybe workshops at community centers. Help people who are trying to start their own businesses but don't have the resources or connections. Sounds good. It sounds terrifying. That too. She sat down on the bench beside him. I meant what I said earlier. I'm going to repay you for all of this. Once the divorce is finalized, once I figure out my finances, I'm going to make sure you're taken care of. Elena, I'm serious. You lost your job because of me. That's not okay. I made my own choices. And I'm going to make sure those choices don't ruin you. Daniel shook his head. I don't want your money. Then what do you want? He thought about that. I want you to be okay. That's it. That's all I want. Elena's eyes filled with tears again. Nobody's ever said that to me before. Then you've been around the wrong people. She leaned her head on his shoulder, just for a moment, just long enough to steady herself. Thank you, she whispered, for seeing me, when everyone else just saw the company. Daniel didn't know what to say to that, so he just sat with her while the bowling alley chaos continued around them. Eventually, Elena sat up. I should probably face reality at some point, check my messages, deal with the fallout. Probably. But not today. Not today. She stood, stretched. Can we go back to the cabin? Just for tonight? I'm not ready to figure out where I'm actually going to live yet. Yeah, we can do that. As they turned in their rental shoes and headed for the exit, Elena said, "I laughed today. Actually laughed. I can't remember the last time that happened. It was good to hear. It was good to feel." They walked back to Daniel's truck through the afternoon sun, and for the first time since he'd found her on those penthouse steps, Elena looked like someone who might actually be okay. Not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But eventually. And that was enough. The drive back to the cabin should have been peaceful. Should have been a quiet decompression after everything that had happened at the law office. Instead, 15 minutes in, Daniel's truck started making a sound like a dying animal. "What is that?" Elena asked. "Nothing good." The sound got louder, then the engine sputtered, then died completely. Daniel managed to coast to the shoulder before the truck gave up entirely. "Are we broken down?" "Yeah, we're broken down." Elena looked around. They were on a stretch of highway with nothing but trees on either side. No buildings, no gas stations, just road and forest. "How far are we from the cabin?" 20 miles, maybe 25. "And from the city?" "About the same." Elena pulled out her phone. "I'll call a tow truck." "No signal out here?" She checked. He was right. "So what do we do?" Daniel got out and popped the hood. Steam hissed out. He stared at the engine like it had personally betrayed him. "How bad is it?" Elena asked, coming to stand beside him. "Bad. The radiator's shot. Has been for months. I kept meaning to fix it, but..." He stopped. "Doesn't matter now." "Can you fix it here?" "Not without parts. And tools I don't have." Elena looked at the empty highway. "So we're stuck." "Looks like it." She was quiet for a moment. Then she started laughing. "What's funny?" "This. All of it. I went from a penthouse to a broken-down truck on the side of the highway in the span of 3 days. It's absurd." Daniel closed the hood. "Yeah, it kind of is." "What do we do now?" He looked down the highway. The sun was starting to set. "Walk, I guess. There's a gas station about 5 miles back. We can call for a tow from there." 5 miles? You got a better idea?" Elena looked down at her borrowed sneakers. "No, I guess not." They started walking. For the first mile, neither of them spoke. Just footsteps on asphalt and the occasional car passing by. Then Elena said, "I've never walked 5 miles before." "Never?" "I had a driver. For years. And before that I had a car. I don't think I've walked more than a mile at a time since college." "Well, now you're making up for it." She laughed. "My feet are already killing me." "Want to rest?" "No. If I stop, I won't start again." They kept walking. After another mile, Elena said, "Tell me about Lily. What's she like when she's not at school?" Daniel smiled. "Chaos. Beautiful chaos. She never stops moving, never stops asking questions. Last week she asked me why clouds float, and I tried to explain air pressure and density, and she just looked at me and said, 'So, clouds are magic, got it?'" Elena laughed. "She sounds wonderful." "She is. She's also stubborn as hell. Gets that from her mother." "Not from you?" "Maybe a little from me." They walked in silence for another stretch. Then Elena asked, "Does she ask about her mother?" "Sometimes. Less than she used to. I think she's old enough now to understand that her mom made a choice, that it wasn't about her, but it still hurts. I see it sometimes when other kids talk about their moms at school." "What do you tell her?" "The truth. That her mom loved her but couldn't handle being a parent, that it's not Lily's fault, that she's loved and wanted and enough exactly as she is." Elena was quiet. "You're a good father." "I'm trying." "No, you are. Most people wouldn't..." She stopped. "Most people would blame the child or lie to protect themselves, but you're honest with her. That matters." Daniel shrugged. "She deserves honesty, even when it hurts." They walked another mile. The sun was almost gone now, the sky turning that deep purple that comes right before dark. "I wanted kids," Elena said suddenly. "Before everything. Before the company took over my life. I wanted 2, maybe 3. What changed?" "I did. I got so focused on building something, on proving I could succeed, that I forgot about everything else. And by the time I looked up, I was 39 and my marriage was falling apart, and I'd miss my chance. You still have time. Do I? I'm almost 40, single, about to walk away from everything I've built. What man is going to want to start a family with that? Daniel glanced at her. The right one won't care about any of that. You're an optimist. I'm a realist. The right person sees you, not your resume. Elena kicked a pebble off the road. My husband used to say I'd make a terrible mother anyway. Too focused on work, too selfish with my time. Your husband sounds like an asshole. She laughed, surprised. He is. But he wasn't wrong. Yeah, he was. Being driven doesn't make you a bad person. It just means you know what you want. Wanted, past tense. I don't know what I want anymore. Then figure it out. You've got time. The gas station appeared in the distance, a bright spot against the darkening sky. When they finally reached it, Elena collapsed onto a bench outside. I'm never walking 5 miles again. It wasn't that bad. My feet are literally bleeding. Daniel looked down. She wasn't joking. The borrowed sneakers had rubbed her heels raw. Why didn't you say something? What were you going to do? Carry me? I would have stopped. Let you rest. I didn't want to rest. I wanted to get here. Daniel went inside, bought Band-Aids and water bottles, came back out. He knelt in front of the bench and held out his hand. Let me see. Elena hesitated, then slipped off her shoes. Her heels were a mess. Blisters on top of blisters, some already popped and bleeding. Jesus, Elena. It's fine. It's not fine. He opened the Band-Aids carefully, applied them as gently as he could. She winced, but didn't pull away. When he finished, he sat beside her on the bench. You should have said something. I'm not used to complaining. There's a difference between complaining and asking for help. She took a long drink of water. I know. I'm working on it. Daniel called the tow company from the gas station's phone. They said they could get to the truck in an hour, maybe 2. Cost would be $200 just for the tow, not counting repairs. $200 Daniel didn't have. When he hung up, Elena was watching him. How much? Doesn't matter. Daniel, $200, plus whatever it costs to fix the radiator. I'll pay for it. No. Yes. This is my fault. If I hadn't dragged you into my mess, you didn't drag me into anything. I chose to help. And I'm choosing to pay for the repairs. Daniel shook his head. Elena, I'm not arguing about this. You've lost your job, spent 3 days taking care of me, and now your truck is dead. The least I can do is fix it. I don't want your charity. It's not charity. It's... She stopped. It's me trying to say thank you in the only way I know how. Daniel studied her face. She meant it. This wasn't about power or control. It was about balance, about not feeling helpless. Okay, he said finally. But I'm paying you back. Deal. They sat on that bench for 2 hours waiting for the tow truck. At some point, Elena rested her head on his shoulder, exhausted. I should probably figure out where I'm actually going to live, she said. I can't hide in your uncle's cabin forever. Why not? Because it's not mine. Because you have a life to get back to. Because, she sighed, because I need to start building something new, and I can't do that hiding in the woods. What are you thinking? An apartment, something small, nothing like the penthouse, just a place where I can breathe. You know where you want to be? Not the city, somewhere quieter, maybe near Lily's school. Daniel turned to look at her. Why near Lily's school? Elena sat up. I don't know, I liked hearing you talk about her, and I thought maybe... She stopped. Never mind. That's stupid. It's not stupid. It is. I barely know you, and I'm already trying to insert myself into your life. Or maybe you're just figuring out what kind of life you want to build. Elena pulled her knees to her chest. What if I mess it up? What if I walk away from everything and realize I don't know how to be a normal person? Then you'll figure it out, same as everyone else. You make it sound easy. It's not easy, but it's simple. You just keep showing up, keep trying, keep being honest about what you want. The tow truck finally arrived. The driver was a guy in his 50s who didn't ask questions, just loaded Daniel's truck onto the flatbed. Where to? He asked. Daniel gave him the address of a mechanic he trusted. The guy said he could drop them at a motel nearby if they needed a place to stay. Actually, Elena said, Can you take us to 742 Maple Street? The driver shrugged. Sure. Daniel looked at her. What's at 742 Maple? Your apartment, I think. That's the address listed in your employee file. How do you... He stopped. Right. You know all your employees. I do. Elena, you can't just show up at my apartment. Why not? Because... He didn't have a good reason. Because Lily's there, and I haven't told her about any of this yet. Then tell her. I'd like to meet her, if that's okay. Daniel stared at her. You want to meet my daughter. Is that weird? Kind of. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have assumed. No, it's... Daniel ran a hand through his hair. It's fine, I just wasn't expecting it. We don't have to. If you're not comfortable, I'm comfortable. I'm just surprised. Elena smiled. I keep surprising myself, too. The drive to Daniel's apartment took 30 minutes. Elena spent most of it staring out the window, watching the neighborhoods change from commercial to residential. When they pulled up to Daniel's building, a rundown complex with peeling paint and a broken security gate, Elena didn't react, didn't wrinkle her nose or make a comment about the neighborhood. She just got out of the truck and followed Daniel to his door. Teresa was inside with Lily. She looked up when Daniel walked in, relief washing over her face. Thank God. I was starting to worry. Sorry, truck broke down. Long story. Teresa's eyes went to Elena. And who's this? Elena, a friend. Daniel turned to Elena. This is Teresa, my neighbor, the one who's saved my life about 100 times. Teresa extended her hand. Nice to meet you. You too. Thank you for watching Lily. Anytime. Teresa grabbed her purse. Speaking of which, she's in her room. Had dinner an hour ago. Homework's done. She's been asking about you all day. I'll go talk to her. Thanks, Teresa. After Teresa left, Elena stood in the middle of Daniel's tiny living room, taking it all in. The sagging couch, the TV that was older than Lily, the laundry basket in the corner that he'd been meaning to fold for 3 days. It's not much, Daniel said. It's home, Elena replied. That's more than I have right now. Before Daniel could respond, Lily appeared in her doorway. Daddy! She ran to him and he scooped her up. Hey, baby, I missed you. Where were you? Teresa said you had work stuff, but you've been gone forever. I know. I'm sorry. Something came up. Lily noticed Elena. Who's that? Daniel set her down. This is Elena. She's a friend who needed some help. Lily studied Elena with the brutal honesty only 7-year-olds possess. Why are you wearing Daddy's uncle's clothes? Elena laughed. Because I didn't have anything else to wear. Your dad was kind enough to lend them to me. They're too big. I know. Lily walked closer. Your shoes are ugly. Lily, Daniel warned. What? They are. Elena smiled. She's right. They're terrible. But they're all I have right now. Lily tilted her head. Did you lose your house? Kind of. That's sad. When Mommy left, we lost our house too. But then we got this one and it's smaller, but Daddy says it's ours, and that's what matters. Elena glanced at Daniel, something soft in her expression. Your daddy sounds very wise. He is, except when he tries to help with math homework. Then he's confused. Daniel laughed. Okay, that's enough honesty for one night. Go brush your teeth. But I already, Now, Lily. She sighed dramatically, but went. When she was gone, Elena said, She's perfect. She's a handful. She's honest. I like that. Daniel gestured to the couch. Sit. I'll make some coffee. Or tea. I think I have tea somewhere. Coffee's fine. While Daniel made coffee in his tiny kitchen, Elena sat on the couch and looked around. On the wall were crayon drawings, Lily's artwork from school, a calendar with soccer practice and parent-teacher conferences marked in red, a photo of Daniel and Lily at what looked like a zoo, both of them smiling. This was a life. Small, simple, real. Everything Elena's had never been. Daniel brought her coffee in a chipped mug. Sorry, I don't have... It's perfect, she said, and meant it. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Lily emerged, teeth brushed, wearing dinosaur pajamas. Can Elena read me a story? She asked. Lily, Elena doesn't... I'd love to, Elena said. Lily grabbed her hand and pulled her toward her bedroom. Daniel followed, watching as Elena sat on Lily's twin bed while Lily grabbed a book from her shelf. This one. It's about a dragon who's scared of flying. Elena took the book. Sounds perfect. She read with expression, doing different voices for each character. Lily laughed at the funny parts, gasped at the scary parts, and by the end was leaning against Elena's shoulder. When the story finished, Lily looked up at her. You're nice. Are you going to stay? Elena glanced at Daniel. I don't know yet, but I'd like to visit again, if that's okay with your dad. It's okay with me, Lily said. You can teach me how to be a CEO. Elena laughed. Or maybe I can teach you how not to be one. What do you mean? I mean, maybe I can teach you how to be successful and happy, not just successful. Lily thought about that. Okay, that sounds good. Daniel tucked Lily in while Elena waited in the living room. When he came out, she was standing by the window, looking at the street below. Thank you, she said, for letting me meet her. She's incredible. She liked you. How can you tell? She asked you to read to her. She doesn't do that with people she doesn't trust. Elena turned to face him. I meant what I said, about wanting to visit again, if you're okay with that. I'm okay with it. Good. They stood there in the dim light of Daniel's living room, and something shifted between them, something neither of them was ready to name yet. I should go, Elena said. Find a hotel. Figure out my next steps. You could stay here, on the couch, just for tonight. Daniel, it's late. You're exhausted. And honestly, I don't think either of us should be alone right now. Elena looked at him for a long moment. Okay, just for tonight. Daniel grabbed a blanket and pillow from his closet. It's not much. Stop apologizing for what you have. It's enough. He set up the couch for her, then stood awkwardly by the kitchen. If you need anything, I know where to find you. Right. Okay. Good night. Good night, Daniel. He went to his room but didn't sleep, just lay there thinking about everything that had happened in the past 3 days. In the living room, Elena lay on the couch and stared at the ceiling, thinking the same thing. The next morning, Daniel woke to the smell of pancakes. He found Elena in the kitchen with Lily, both of them covered in flour. What's happening? Elena's teaching me to make pancakes, Lily announced. She's not very good at it. I'm learning, Elena said, flipping a pancake that was definitely burnt on one side. Daniel leaned against the doorframe, watching them. Lily was giggling, Elena was smiling, and for a moment everything felt almost normal. Almost like this could work. After breakfast, burnt pancakes that they ate anyway, Elena borrowed Daniel's phone to make some calls. When she came back, her expression was serious. I talked to my lawyer. The divorce is going to be finalized in 60 days. And I talked to my assistant. The board wants to meet with me tomorrow. What did you tell them? That I'll be there, but only to resign. Daniel set down his coffee. You're sure? I'm sure. I've spent 3 days away from it all, and I don't miss it. Not the meetings, not the pressure, not any of it. So I'm walking away, for real this time. What about the company? I'm recommending my CFO for CEO. She's brilliant, ruthless, and actually wants the job. The board will probably fight me on it, but I don't care. It's time. Lily looked up from her coloring book. What's resign mean? It means I'm leaving my job, Elena said. Why? Because it was making me sad, and I want to do something that makes me happy instead. Lily nodded like this made perfect sense. That's good. Daddy says you should only do things that make you happy if you can. Elena smiled. Your daddy is very smart. After Lily went to get dressed for school, Elena turned to Daniel. I meant what I said yesterday, about wanting to be part of this, part of your life, part of Lily's life. If you'll let me. Elena, I know it's fast. I know we barely know each other. But these past few days being with you, with Lily, it's the first time in years I felt like myself. Like I'm building something that matters. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't want to lose this. Whatever this is, I want to figure out what it could be. Daniel looked at her. At this woman who'd gone from untouchable CEO to someone standing in his kitchen in borrowed clothes, asking to be part of his messy, complicated life. Okay, he said. Okay? Yeah, let's figure it out. Elena smiled, and it was the most genuine thing he'd ever seen. The rest of the day moved fast. Daniel took Lily to school, then drove Elena to pick up some clothes from a store downtown. Nothing expensive, just basics. Jeans, t-shirts, a jacket that actually fit. She changed in the store bathroom and emerged looking like someone completely different from the CEO he'd known. She looked like Elena, just Elena. That afternoon, they went to the mechanic. The radiator would cost $400 to replace. Elena paid without blinking. I'm still paying you back, Daniel said. I know, but not today. They picked up Lily from school together. She chattered the entire way home about her day, about her friends, about the science project on volcanoes she wanted to do. Elena listened to all of it like it was the most important thing in the world. That night, after Lily was in bed, Elena and Daniel sat on his tiny balcony. It wasn't much, just enough space for 2 chairs and a view of the parking lot, but it was quiet. Tomorrow's going to be hard, Elena said, facing the board, making it official. You want me to come with you? No. This is something I need to do alone, but she reached over and took his hand. Thank you for everything, for seeing me when I was invisible, for staying when everyone else left, for reminding me I'm more than what I do. Daniel squeezed her hand. You're going to be okay. I know, for the first time in a long time, I actually believe that. They sat there in the quiet, holding hands, watching the stars come out over the parking lot. And somewhere between the broken-down truck and the burnt pancakes and the terrible bowling scores, something had changed. Elena had stopped running from her life, and Daniel had stopped being afraid to let someone in. Tomorrow, Elena would resign, would walk away from everything she'd built and start over from nothing. But tonight, sitting on a balcony that overlooked a parking lot, holding the hand of a man who'd shown her what kindness looked like. Tonight, she was exactly where she needed to be. The morning Elena was supposed to resign, she threw up twice. Daniel found her in his bathroom at 6 in the morning, pale and shaking, gripping the sides of the sink. Hey, he said quietly from the doorway. You okay? No. Her voice was hoarse. I'm terrified. You don't have to do this today. You can postpone. No. If I don't do it now, I never will. She splashed water on her face. I just need a minute. Daniel handed her a towel. Take all the time you need. Elena dried her face, staring at herself in the mirror. She looked different than she had a week ago. No makeup, hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, wearing jeans and a plain blouse instead of a designer's suit. She looked like someone who'd been through a war and somehow survived. What if I'm making a mistake? She asked. Then you'll make a different choice tomorrow. But Elena, you've been miserable for years. Walking away isn't a mistake, it's survival. She turned to face him. What if the board refuses my resignation? What if they vote me out instead and make it ugly? Then it's ugly, but at least it's over. Elena nodded, but her hands were still shaking. Come here, Daniel said. She stepped into his arms, and he held her while she took shaky breaths, steadying herself for what came next. I've built my entire identity around this company, she whispered against his shoulder. Without it, I don't know who I am. Then find out. That's what the rest of your life is for. She pulled back, met his eyes. Will you be here when I get back? Where else would I be? I don't know. I need to know you're not going anywhere. Daniel cupped her face gently. I'm not going anywhere, I promise. Elena kissed him, quick, impulsive, like she needed the reminder that something real was waiting for her on the other side of this. When she pulled away, she was blushing. Sorry, I shouldn't have. Don't apologize. I'm a mess right now. This is terrible timing. Elena, stop overthinking and go resign from your billion-dollar company. She laughed, shaky but real. Okay, I'm going. Daniel drove her to the building, not the one where the law offices were, but the headquarters of her company. A gleaming tower of glass and steel that screamed money and power. Elena stared up at it from the parking lot. I used to be so proud of this building. Now I just feel tired looking at it. You sure you don't want me to come in? I'm sure. This is something I need to do alone. She got out of the truck, then leaned back in through the window. If I'm not out in 2 hours, assume they've murdered me and hidden the body. Not funny. Little bit funny. She walked toward the building, and Daniel watched until she disappeared through the revolving doors. Then he drove to Lily's school, picked her up early claiming a doctor's appointment, and took her for ice cream at 10 in the morning. "Why are we getting ice cream before lunch?" Lily asked, delighted but suspicious. "Because sometimes you need ice cream before lunch." "Is Elena okay?" Daniel looked at his daughter. "Why do you ask?" "She seems sad this morning and scared. Is someone being mean to her?" "No, baby. She's just doing something really hard today. Something that's going to change her whole life." Lily thought about this while eating her chocolate cone. "Is she going to live with us?" "What? No. Why would you think that?" "Because she slept on our couch, and she made breakfast with me, and you look at her the way you look at me when you think I'm not watching." Daniel nearly choked on his coffee. "What way is that?" "Like she matters, like you'd do anything to keep her safe. 7 years old and already too perceptive for her own good." "Would you be okay with it?" Daniel asked carefully. "If Elena was around more?" Lily shrugged. "I like her. She's nice, and she doesn't pretend she knows everything like adults usually do. She asks questions and actually listens." "Yeah, she does. So, yeah, I'd be okay with it." Daniel's phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something told him to pick up. "Daniel Reed?" "Yeah." "This is Margaret Chen, CFO of Vaughn Industries. Elena asked me to call you." Daniel's stomach dropped. "Is she okay?" "She's fine. The meeting just ended. She wanted me to let you know she's on her way to you now, and—" Margaret paused. "She wanted me to thank you for whatever you did to help her find her courage again." "I didn't do anything. According to her, you did everything." Margaret's voice softened. "Take care of her. She's been through hell, and she needs someone who sees her as more than a profit margin." "I will." "Good. And Mr. Reed, for what it's worth, I think she made the right choice. She's been dying in that role for years. Maybe now she can actually live." After she hung up, Daniel sat in the ice cream parlor with Lily, waiting. Elena showed up 40 minutes later. She looked exhausted, wrung out, but there was something different in her eyes. Relief. She slid into the booth beside Lily. "Is that chocolate?" "Yeah, you want some?" "I want my own." Elena turned to Daniel. "I could really use some ice cream right now." "That bad?" "That intense." Daniel got up to order while Elena sat with Lily. "Did you do the hard thing?" Lily asked. "I did." "Was it scary?" "Terrifying." "But you did it anyway?" "I did it anyway." Lily nodded solemnly. "Daddy says being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do it even when you are." Elena smiled. "Your daddy is very wise." "I know. He's the best." When Daniel came back with Elena's ice cream, vanilla with hot fudge, she took a bite and closed her eyes. "This is exactly what I needed." "How did it go?" Daniel asked. "They accepted my resignation, unanimously. I think they were relieved, honestly, and they approved my recommendation for Margaret as CEO. She'll be announced tomorrow." "How do you feel?" Elena set down her spoon. "Like I just jumped off a cliff and I'm still waiting to hit the ground." "You won't hit the ground." "How do you know?" "Because we'll catch you." Elena looked at him, then at Lily, then back at her ice cream. "I need to find an apartment and a job and figure out what the hell I'm doing with my life." "One thing at a time," Daniel said. "Where do I even start?" Lily raised her hand. "You could start with finding a place to live near us. There's an apartment building 2 blocks away. Mrs. Chen lives there and she says it's nice." Elena laughed. "You've already been apartment hunting for me?" "Just thinking ahead." "Well, that's very thoughtful. Thank you." They spent the rest of the afternoon driving around the neighborhood, looking at rental signs. Most of the apartments were terrible, too expensive, too small, too far from Lily's school. Then they found a small unit above a bookstore. 1 bedroom, tiny kitchen, a living room with windows that looked out onto the street. The landlord was an older woman named Ruth, who looked at Elena's designer jeans and clearly expensive jacket and said, "You sure you want to live here? This isn't exactly your scene." "My scene just imploded," Elena said. "This is perfect." Ruth showed them the apartment. It was bare, needed paint, had appliances from the 90s. The bathroom tiles were cracked, and the bedroom closet was the size of a shoebox. Elena stood in the middle of the empty living room and said, "I'll take it." "You haven't even asked about the rent." "How much?" $850 a month, first and last plus security deposit. Elena didn't flinch. "When can I move in?" "You got the money now?" "I can have it by tomorrow." Ruth studied her for a long moment. "You running from something?" "Yeah, my old life." "That a bad thing?" "No. It's the best decision I've ever made." Ruth nodded slowly. "All right then. Give me the deposit tomorrow and it's yours. I'll have the lease ready." After Ruth left, Elena stood in the empty apartment, and Daniel could see her mentally arranging furniture that didn't exist yet. "It's small," she said. "It's perfect," Lily countered. "And you can walk to our place in like 5 minutes." Elena smiled. That was part of the appeal. Over the next 2 weeks, Elena moved into her new life piece by piece. She bought furniture from thrift stores and garage sales. A couch that sagged in the middle, a kitchen table with mismatched chairs, dishes from Target. None of it matched. All of it was hers. Daniel helped her paint the living room a soft blue that she said reminded her of the sky at the cabin. Lily helped too, getting more paint on herself than the walls. "This is fun," Lily declared, blue paint in her hair. "This is chaos," Elena corrected. But she was smiling. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday. Elena signed the papers in her lawyer's office, walked out with nothing except her grandmother's necklace and a bank account that was significantly smaller than it had been, but still more than most people saw in a lifetime. Her ex-husband didn't show up, didn't even send a message. Elena told herself she didn't care. She mostly believed it. That night, Daniel took her out to the same diner where they'd had their first real conversation. They sat in the same booth, ordered the same terrible coffee. "How are you?" he asked. "I don't know. Free, I think, and terrified, and relieved, all at the same time. That's normal." "Is it?" "Yeah. When my divorce was finalized, I felt the same way. Like someone had cut the strings holding me up and I didn't know if I'd stand or fall." Elena wrapped her hands around her coffee mug. "Did you fall?" "For a while. But then I learned to stand on my own." "How long did that take?" "I'm still learning," she smiled. "Honest as always. It's all I know how to be." They talked for hours. About the future, about the past, about everything in between. And somewhere in that conversation, Elena reached across the table and took his hand. "I think I'm falling for you," she said quietly. "And that terrifies me more than walking away from my company ever did." Daniel didn't pull away. "Why does it terrify you?" "Because I've already failed at one relationship, and you deserve better than someone who's still figuring out who she is." "Elena, we're all still figuring out who we are. That doesn't mean we have to do it alone." "But what if I mess this up? What if I hurt you or Lily or—" "Then we'll deal with it, together. But you can't let fear of what might happen keep you from living." Elena blinked back tears. "When did you get so wise?" "Therapy. Lots of therapy." She laughed through her tears. "I should probably get some of that." "Probably." They left the diner holding hands, and Elena felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. 3 months after resigning, Elena started teaching business workshops at the community center 3 blocks from Daniel's apartment. The first class had 6 people, all of them struggling, all of them trying to start businesses with no money and no connections. Elena looked at them and saw herself 15 years ago. She taught them everything she'd learned: how to write a business plan, how to pitch to investors, how to survive when everything falls apart. But she also taught them the things she'd learned the hard way: how to set boundaries, how to know when success is costing too much, how to build something sustainable instead of something that burns you out. The class grew. 6 people became 12. 12 became 20. People started recognizing her on the street, not as the CEO who'd walked away from billions, but as the teacher who actually cared whether they succeeded. One night, after class, a woman in her 30s approached Elena. "I just wanted to say thank you. I was about to give up on my business, but what you said today about failure being part of the process, it helped." Elena smiled. "I'm glad. Keep going. You've got this." After the woman left, Elena stood in the empty community center and realized something. This mattered more than any boardroom deal ever had. Daniel picked her up after class, like he did every Thursday. How'd it go? He asked. Really good. I think I'm actually making a difference. Of course you are. You're brilliant. I'm really not. You are. You just spent 12 years pointing that brilliance in the wrong direction. Elena leaned her head on his shoulder as he drove. I love you. You know that? The words slipped out before she could stop them. Daniel nearly swerved into the next lane. What? Elena sat up, panicked. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. It's too soon, and we haven't even talked about what we are, and… Elena. What? I love you too. She stared at him. Really? Really. I have for weeks. I was just waiting for the right time to say it. And now? While you're driving? Apparently now works. Elena laughed and kissed him at a red light and felt like everything broken inside her was finally starting to heal. 6 months after moving into her apartment, Elena invited Daniel and Lily over for dinner. She'd been practicing all week, had called Teresa for help with the recipe 3 times, had burned 2 practice chickens before finally getting one right. When they arrived, Lily sniffed the air suspiciously. Did you cook this yourself? I did. Is it safe to eat? Lily, Daniel warned. What? I'm just asking. Elena laughed. It's safe. I promise. Mostly. They ate at her mismatched table, and the chicken was a little dry but edible. Lily declared the mashed potatoes excellent and asked for seconds. After dinner, while Lily watched a movie in the living room, Elena pulled Daniel aside. I have something to ask you. Okay. She was nervous, fidgeting with her grandmother's necklace. I've been thinking about what I want my life to look like, and I realized something. What's that? I want you in it. Both of you. Not just as friends or people I see sometimes. I want… She took a breath. I want us to be a family. Daniel went very still. Elena, I know it's fast. I know we've only been together a few months, but I'm 39 years old, and I've spent most of my life building things that didn't matter. I don't want to waste any more time, so I'm asking. She met his eyes. Move in with me. You and Lily. Build something real with me. Daniel didn't answer right away, just looked at her with an expression she couldn't read. You don't have to answer now, Elena said quickly. Take time to think about it. Talk to Lily. I just needed you to know… Yes. Elena blinked. What? Yes. We'll move in with you. Really? Really? But… He paused. I need you to understand what you're signing up for. Lily's 7. She has nightmares sometimes. She asks questions about her mom that I don't always know how to answer. She's messy and loud, and sometimes she's a lot. Daniel, I know, and I'm not perfect either. I work too much because I'm terrified of not having enough money. I have baggage from my ex-wife that I'm still working through. And sometimes I shut down instead of talking about my feelings. Are you trying to talk me out of this? No, I'm making sure you know what you're getting into. Elena stepped closer to him. I'm getting into a life with a man who stayed when everyone else left, who showed me what kindness looks like when I'd forgotten, who has a daughter who makes me laugh and challenges me and reminds me what matters. That's what I'm getting into, and I want all of it, the messy parts, the hard parts, all of it. Daniel kissed her, slow and deep and full of promise. When they broke apart, he was smiling. Okay then, let's do this. Yeah? Yeah. They told Lily that night. She screamed so loud the neighbors probably called the police. We're going to live with Elena in her apartment above the bookstore. If that's okay with you, Elena said. Are you kidding? That's the best thing ever. Lily threw her arms around Elena. Can I decorate my room? However you want. Can we get a dog? Lily, Daniel warned. What? I'm negotiating, Elena laughed. We'll talk about the dog. They moved in 3 weeks later. Daniel's stuff fit into the apartment easily. He didn't have much. Most of what they owned came from Elena's new life. The thrift store furniture, the mismatched dishes, the paintings Lily had made in art class. It wasn't elegant, wasn't sophisticated, wasn't anything like the penthouse Elena used to live in. It was perfect. The first morning they all woke up together. Elena made pancakes. They were only slightly burnt. Lily declared them delicious anyway. Daniel kissed Elena in the kitchen while Lily pretended to gag. This is so gross, Lily said. You'll survive, Daniel replied. After breakfast, they walked to the farmer's market. Just the three of them, navigating the crowds, picking out vegetables and fresh bread. People stared. Elena knew what they saw. The former CEO, who'd walked away from billions, now buying tomatoes with a single dad and his daughter. She didn't care. 1 year after Daniel found her on those penthouse steps, Elena stood in front of a classroom at the community college. She'd been hired to teach 2 courses, Introduction to Business and Entrepreneurship for Real People. The pay was a fraction of what she used to make. She'd never been happier. Daniel and Lily sat in the back row for her first lecture. Moral support, Daniel had said. Elena looked at them and smiled. Then she turned to her students. Welcome to Introduction to Business. I'm Elena Vaughn, and before we start, I want to tell you something important. She paused. I spent 12 years building a billion-dollar company, and it almost destroyed me. So in this class, we're not just going to talk about how to make money. We're going to talk about how to build something sustainable, something that feeds your soul, not just your bank account. Because success without happiness is just expensive misery. One student raised their hand. Is it true you walked away from everything? Yeah, it's true. Why? Elena thought about how to answer that, about the night Daniel found her, about the cabin and the bowling alley and the moment she realized her old life was killing her. Because I forgot what mattered, she said finally, and I needed to remember before it was too late. After class, Daniel and Lily waited for her in the hallway. You were amazing, Daniel said. I was nervous. Didn't show. Lily tugged on Elena's sleeve. Can we get ice cream to celebrate? Again? We had ice cream yesterday. So? You started a new job. That's worth ice cream. Elena laughed. Okay, ice cream it is. They walked to the same ice cream place they'd gone to that first day, sat in the same booth, ordered the same flavors. But everything was different now. Elena had an apartment filled with mismatched furniture and crayon drawings on the fridge. She had a teaching job that paid barely enough but filled her with purpose. She had a daughter who wasn't biologically hers but felt like hers anyway. And she had Daniel, who'd found her at her lowest point and reminded her what it meant to be human. What are you thinking about? He asked. How lucky I am, says the woman who lost everything. I didn't lose everything. I lost all the wrong things and found all the right ones. Lily made another gagging noise. You guys are so cheesy. You love it, Elena said. Maybe a little. That night, after Lily was asleep, Daniel and Elena sat on their tiny balcony, not much bigger than the one at Daniel's old apartment, but theirs. I have something for you, Daniel said. He pulled out a small box. Elena's breath caught. Daniel, it's not what you think. Open it. Inside was a key, old brass, nothing special. It's the key to the cabin, Daniel said. I know we live here now, but I thought maybe sometimes we could go back, just to remember where we started, where you found yourself again. Elena took the key, tears in her eyes. It's perfect. Yeah? Yeah. She kissed him under the stars, holding the key to a cabin in the woods where she'd learned what it meant to let go. 2 years after that night on the penthouse steps, Elena stood in front of her class on the last day of the semester. Before you go, I want to say something, she told her students. When I started teaching, I thought I was here to give you knowledge, tools, strategies for success. And yeah, we've covered all that. But what I've learned is that you've taught me just as much. She paused, looking at the faces of people who'd worked so hard, who'd struggled and persevered and refused to give up. You've reminded me why any of this matters. Not the money, not the prestige, but the impact we have on each other, the communities we build, the lives we touch. That's real success. Everything else is just noise. After class, one of her students approached her. Professor Vaughn, I just wanted to say, you changed my life. I was about to drop out, give up on my business idea. But what you taught me about sustainable growth and knowing your worth, it made the difference. Elena smiled. I'm glad. But you did the hard work. I just pointed you in the right direction. Still, thank you. After the student left, Elena packed up her things and walked out of the building. Daniel was waiting for her, leaning against his truck. The radiator had been replaced 2 years ago, but everything else was still held together with hope and duct tape. "How'd it go, Ma?" he asked. "Good, really good." "Ready to head home?" Home. A word that used to mean a cold penthouse overlooking the city. Now it meant a small apartment above a bookstore filled with people she loved. Yeah. Yeah, Elena said. "I'm ready." They picked up Lily from school on the way. She was 9 now, still obsessed with dinosaurs, still asking questions nobody could answer. "Elena, if you could go back and not walk away from your company, would you?" Lily asked from the back seat. "No, not for a second." "Why not?" "Because walking away led me to you and your dad and the life I actually wanted." "Even though you lost all that money?" "Especially because of that." "Money doesn't make you happy, Lily. People do. Purpose does. Love does." Lily thought about this. "So you're saying I shouldn't become a billionaire?" Elena laughed. "I'm saying if you do, don't lose yourself in the process." "Got it. Billionaire with balance." "Exactly." That night they had dinner together like they did every night. Nothing special, just pasta and salad and conversation about their days. Lily told them about the science fair project she was planning. Daniel told them about the new maintenance contract he'd landed at a different property company. Elena told them about her students' final projects. It was ordinary, simple, perfect. After Lily went to bed, Daniel pulled Elena close on the couch. "You know what today is?" he asked. "Tuesday?" "It's 3 years since I found you on those penthouse steps." Elena blinked. "Is it really?" "Yeah, 3 years since the worst night of your life became the best thing that ever happened to both of us." She thought about that night, about sitting barefoot on cold concrete, holding a necklace with her husband's wedding ring, convinced her life was over. She'd been so wrong. Her life hadn't ended that night. It had finally begun. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for not walking away, for staying when staying was hard, for showing me what love actually looks like." Daniel kissed her forehead. "Thank you for letting me." They sat there in comfortable silence, and Elena thought about everything that had changed. She wasn't a CEO anymore, didn't have billions in the bank, didn't live in a penthouse or drive a luxury car or eat at restaurants with unpronounceable names. But she had Daniel and Lily, and a life built on honesty and kindness and second chances. She had purpose, community, love. She had everything that mattered. And for the first time in her entire life, Elena Vaughn was truly, genuinely happy. Not because she'd achieved success by the world's standards, but because she'd finally figured out what success actually meant. It meant coming home to people who loved her, not for what she did, but for who she was. It meant teaching students who reminded her why any of this mattered. It meant building a life that was messy and imperfect and real. It meant choosing connection over achievement, presence over productivity, love over everything else. 3 years ago, Elena had lost everything, and in losing it, she'd found what she'd been searching for all along: a life worth living, a family worth fighting for, a version of herself she could actually recognize in the mirror. She'd stopped running, stopped hiding behind titles and achievements, and the person she thought she was supposed to be. And in that stopping, in that stillness, she'd finally learned to breathe. Daniel fell asleep on the couch beside her, and Elena stayed awake a little longer, watching him. This man who'd been a stranger 3 years ago, who'd shown up when nobody else did, who'd reminded her that kindness wasn't weakness and asking for help wasn't failure. This man who'd saved her life by simply being present. She loved him, not in the desperate, clinging way she'd loved her ex-husband, but in a steady, grounded way that felt like coming home. Elena pulled a blanket over both of them and closed her eyes. Tomorrow, she'd wake up and make breakfast. Would probably burn the eggs again. Would laugh with Lily and kiss Daniel and go to work at a job that paid a fraction of what she used to make. And she'd be grateful. For all of it. Every messy, imperfect, beautiful piece. Because this was her life now. Not the one she'd planned. Not the one she'd worked so hard to build. But the one she'd chosen. The one she'd fought for. The one that was hers. And it was more than enough. It was everything.